Welcome to the Toronto Sports Rush channel, brought to you by the Bet Rivers Network. We have MLB trade deadline news involving your Toronto Blue Jays, and joining me today are two guests to help us dissect it. First up, from the best damn sports show in Ohio, is Adam the Bull of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Adam, how are you doing on a rather exciting trade deadline day? We expect to continue heating up.
Kyle, I'm doing great. I am the biggest baseball nerd, and I actually keep a spreadsheet. I've had this spreadsheet since spreadsheets were a thing of every major league roster, and every time there's a transaction, I update it. Why I do this, I have no idea. I mean, I could just look at teams' rosters, but I love doing this myself. I think it kind of relaxes me. It's like my getaway. And so I'm obsessed with days like this where there's a trade deadline and there's a lot of action. It's fantastic. So thanks for having me on with you. Excited to be in Toronto. As you know, I'll be going to Toronto to watch the Cubs play the Blue Jays in 2 weeks. So,
well, since we're doing this now, I'm going to try and figure out a way to meet up with you and your family while you're here. But we couldn't have asked for a better person, because you are also the host of a channel on the Bet Rivers Network, to come on today and talk about this, because the Toronto Blue Jays have acquired former Cy Young winner Shane Bieber from your Cleveland Guardians today in exchange for 22-year-old Cal Steven. Who are we getting? Talk to us about Shane Bieber.
On paper, I love this trade for both teams, but let's talk about it from a Blue Jays perspective. Obviously, there's a level of risk when you trade for a pitcher who had Tommy John surgery last, I can't remember if it was late April or early
April
May
24.
Okay, there you go. So late April. But here's one thing I could tell you unequivocally about Shane Bieber. When he's healthy, he's excellent. It's that simple. Now, this is his first time after Tommy John surgery. You never know. But if you look at the numbers, again, I understand it's the minors. If you look at the strikeout to walk ratio in the minors and his rehab starts, he's been lights out. He looks like himself. The guy is an absolute bulldog. And, somebody asked me today, I was talking about this earlier, like, who do you think is the best team in the American League? And the Blue Jays are not a popular, in Toronto, I'm sure they are, but nationally, the Blue Jays are not a popular choice as the best team. People are reading way too much, in my opinion, into their run differential, which is not amazing for a team that has that good a record. But I am a believer in the Blue Jays. I think right now the Blue Jays are the best team in the American League. And part of that is this deal, because I think when Shane Bieber comes back, obviously you can't rush him. I'd give him one or two more starts in the minors. What is it? Syracuse? Is that their AAA team? Is it Syracuse?
I believe so, yeah. That's where he was, yeah.
Right. I'd have him go pitch at Syracuse, a start or two. And then I'd have him for, the final 6 weeks of the season. But there is little doubt in my mind that when this guy pitches for the Blue Jays, he's not only going to be good, he's going to be great. And I expect him, and maybe I'm asking too much because he's missed a lot of time, but he's young enough. It's not like he's 35 coming back off Tommy John. I expect him not only to be really good, but I expect him to be the ace of the Blue Jays in the playoffs. And I think he could be obviously, you know this way better than me. The Blue Jays have had a lot of disappointment in the postseason in recent years. I think he could be the difference between them getting knocked out in the first round and then making a deep run in the playoffs in a wide open American League.
You've made two very interesting points. And first of all, I have heard you on the Hardball Sports Betting Show talk about the Jays' run differential. It comes up too much, in my opinion, because they did have a slow start. They had a slow start, and baseball is very much a "what have you done for me lately" type of sport. Secondly, to have him come into a team and be talked about as a number, if his elbow's good to go, he probably should be the number one starter, but he's at worst case scenario probably number two, depending on how the rest of the guys go. They already have 5 good starters. You know what I mean? They have a 5 solid starter rotation with a couple of Cy Young threats in there already, right? Or past Cy Young winners now. Scherzer has a Cy Young under his belt, does he not?
He does, yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? They have the veteran leadership to get through all this. It's an interesting perspective for the Jays going forward, not only just simply acquiring this arm and this inning-eating arm. We'll see after Tommy John how much he can do from his past, because he was typically a 200-inning guy. Right. But it's what this maybe signals to not only the fans, but the players in the clubhouse. This team is now all in, for sure.
And they needed to be, right? You got Bichette's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. They did obviously extend Guerrero, which is a good move, but the Blue Jays have been the bridesmaids so many times in the American League. And I think in a year where one of your best players is going to be a free agent, when you've gotten some surprising contributions from some guys in the lineup, like that kind of came out of nowhere, and in a year where the American League is more wide open than we've seen in forever. I don't think any team in the American League is I think the Blue Jays are good. I think the Astros are good. I love what the Mariners did at the trade deadline. They're good. I'm not a big believer in the Yankees, but they're a decent team. The Tigers are pretty good. None of those teams are outstanding. Any of them can beat any of them in the playoffs. And so any little move can be the difference. And so that's why I love this. And I love that they went all in and they needed to. Frankly, if I'm them, and I know they acquired Sir Anthony Dominguez, and I like that move, I'd keep going at the pen. I'm a little nervous about Jeff Hoffman because he's been inconsistent. Hoffman, it's funny. Like, he'll go 5 appearances in a row where nobody touches him, and then he'll give up 4 runs in an inning. He's had too many of those. So I'm a little nervous about him as the closer. I like Rodriguez out in the pen. I know he didn't pitch well, was it yesterday or the day before? But overall, he's pitched well. And but they don't have a lot of veterans in that pen. So I would grab one more reliever. But to put Bieber in perspective of how awesome I think this guy is, think about this last year. Last year, he made 2 starts before he had Tommy John surgery. And he already had the injury when he made these 2 starts. They found out after. And in those 2 starts, 12 innings, 10 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 20 strikeouts with a bad elbow. I mean, that's how good this guy is. He never pitches bad. His worst year was in 2023, where he was not completely healthy. He pitched through it, and he had a 3.80 ERA. That's his worst year since his rookie season. But again, when this guy is right, I don't think there's 5 better pitchers in baseball when he's right, when he's at his best. And because, again, if he were coming back at age 35, 36, that'd be one thing. He just turned 30 a few weeks ago. He's right in the prime of his career, and I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. I am. I'm a Cubs fan, and I root for the Cubs. Obviously, I root for the Guardians because I've been working here, and they've become my team. But with the Guardians not making the playoffs, I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. I hope they do well because I don't know. I like the teams they had back in the day with Joe Carter, so I'm pro Blue Jay. So I hope that Shane Bieber pitches great for you guys, and I hope you guys make a big run. I certainly don't want to see the Yankees win. I certainly don't want to see the Astros. I don't, the Tigers are a division rival for us here. I'm fine with the Mariners. That'd be kind of cool if it was a Mariners Blue Jays ALCS. The teams coming into the league, what was it, 76, 77 that they both came in the same year? I can't remember the exact year. But anyway, I'm rambling. But I love this move, and if he's healthy, I think it's going to totally pay off. They gave up obviously a good pitching prospect, but you got to win. It's time to win.
Yeah,
so.
The Jays have the money to play this game, and they definitely have the roster and the talent. They're more of what we thought they would be at the start of the season. Now that they're taking this kind of shape for the team. And I just want to thank you straight up before I let you go here for coming in and basically being a Blue Jays cheerleader for us. We're not going to get too much into the Guardians end of this deal because you, of course, are going live at 6 p.m. today Eastern on the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, part of the Bet Rivers Network, where people can hear your take on, I'm sure, the Guardians acquisitions at the deadline, as well as more from around the MLB. So, Adam, anything else to add before I let you go?
Yes, please join me at 6. I will give my thoughts on their acquisition, the player they got from the Blue Jays. We'll talk about that angle, and we'll see if in the next hour and 50 minutes they trade Stephen Kwan. I don't think they should unless they get absolutely blown away. I'm very angry with the team in the front office right now, but hey, listen, I think the Blue Jays made a smart move. I think it's going to pay off again. You never know with injuries, but Mark Shapiro knows this Guardians. He's got the relationship with Chris Antonetti. They've scouted him. I think this is going to turn out to be. It's not getting as much hype as a lot of these other moves, but I think this Bieber move could turn out to be the difference for the Jays in the American League. I really do.
Very well said, Adam. Thank you once again for joining us. And before we move into our next case, I just want of course. I just want to remind everyone on the channel here and on your channel, like and subscribe to Adam the Bull, the Bullpen, like and subscribe to Toronto Sports Rush. That's exactly how we're able to bring you all this content and welcoming in our next guest who essentially needs no real introduction here on Toronto Sports Rush, but I'm going to introduce him anyhow. His name, of course, is Keegan Matheson. He is a frequent TSR contributor and, of course, an MLB.com reporter. Keegan, pretty big day for the Blue Jays, isn't it?
It is. Started early, too. Normally, Ross Atkins likes to do his business at like 11 p.m. when I'm either, trying to pretend I'm asleep or scrambling home or something like that. But a little early morning business from the Blue Jays. And fascinating one, because this is not a simple, here's a starting pitcher, drop him in your rotation. There's a Tommy John recovery involved. There's next year involved, the player option. But Bieber, when he's good, we all know he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So this is high upside, big swing, and the Jays, I think, really going for a pitcher who can go in game 1 or game 2 or game 3 of a series. That's all that mattered for them. Another number 5, whatever. They have enough pitchers. They have a good enough rotation. But Bieber gives them maybe that guy who can lead off a series and win them a game. It's a fascinating move. Not surprising as Cleveland either. They tend to kind of share rosters.
They're basically playing a video game. They're playing the show themselves with their roster. One thing I find very fascinating about this deal is they bring in Bieber not really knowing from a health perspective. Of course, we know his resume. Everyone knows the resume. It's exceptional. We don't know how good his arm is. Like, is he the 200 inning guy right now? Maybe not. So where will he slot in this rotation? Because he could fit anywhere from 1 to 4 here. Does it depend completely on his health?
He's just about back, probably 1, maybe 2 more rehab outings we'll see from Bieber. I think it was 4 innings his last time out in Double-A with Cleveland. But I'm curious, number 1, if the Blue Jays will try out a 6-man rotation, even if it's for 1 or 2 trips through. Because Kevin Gausman can benefit from that. Chris Bassett can. Max Scherzer just turned 41. He can probably benefit from that. And Lauer on that end, you see how he holds up. We'll see. Jose Berrios, he's had some tough ones lately, but he's Jose Berrios. He's not going to go anywhere else.
Right.
So I think there is some appeal to a 6-man early on. And I'm normally not the 6-man guy, but it makes sense here. And as you whittle it down through the end of August into September, that's when you probably get to decision time. Now, the lazy answer is that probably something happens between now and then. Either someone sucks, someone has a bum shoulder. Sure. These things take care of themselves. They tend to. But it's a great problem for the Jays to have. And you start to think about who could be bumped into a bullpen role or a bulk role. I think Max Scherzer is actually kind of attractive in that role. I don't want to be the guy to tell him that. I think he would bite my head off. But we've seen how good Max Scherzer's stuff can be when he's maxing out still. And if you have that, not right now, but in the postseason, coming out of your bullpen for a couple of innings, that could be attractive. You need someone who can do something at the top end. Eric Lauer in the bullpen, sure, but he does not have that wipeout pitch like Kevin Gausman's splitter, Max Scherzer with that slider, which he still definitely has. It's an interesting problem that doesn't have a really obvious answer. The obvious one being probably that it takes care of itself, but a very good problem. And the Jays raised the ceiling of their rotation, which they had to do.
It's a very interesting point you bring up about Scherzer there, because in a scenario in the playoffs or late in the season where one of their starters has a terrible start and they need to be pulled in the second inning, he could be there to eat a starter amount of innings for them and save their bullpen moving forward through critical series or some sort of setup to that effect that benefits the team. And he is kind of a team guy, and he has kind of joined this roster and been that guy from day one, has he not?
Absolutely. And he's a baseball nut. Yeah. Like, this guy is probably going to try to play baseball until his arm falls off. And I love that. He's Max Scherzer's made enough money. I promise you, he's made enough money. He's here because he wants to win. He's 41. He understands the realities of baseball. He's battled that thumb injury all year. He knows that his chances at doing this are limited. I'm not saying it's the last year, but he doesn't have 20 more in front of him. So any opportunity to win, I think he would take. And I know the Blue Jays fans, when they hear about, another starter coming into the second, I promise it's not going to be Berrios Kikuchi again. We're not back in Minneapolis. Nobody has to be too afraid of this. It'll be okay. Yeah. But there is some strategy there that you can use, because Max Scherzer, we just saw his last start in Detroit. He can miss bats, man. He can attack players. And imagine Max Scherzer coming in out of the bullpen, just cursing into his own glove, losing his mind, just dripping sweat, even though he hasn't thrown a pitch yet. It could work. Now, that being said, Max Scherzer could also start some games for you. There's so many ways this can go, but they've got that option. And Bieber is going to be part of the answer. He won't be the guy in the bullpen. When he's back, he has that potential to start maybe a game one, maybe likelier a game two if Kevin Gausman keeps looking like this. That was going to be a weakness for the Jays. Maybe not game one or two, but by the time you got to game 3 or 4, the Blue Jays against a really good World Series rotation were probably going to be at a disadvantage. They have lots of good pitchers, but not really the great ones. And Bieber can be great, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and back to Scherzer, one more point quickly. What you said there about his intensity, if he were to come in a second inning when they're down 6-0 or something, that can really shut the door on the other team very quickly and turn the tides, because the Jays can pop off 6 runs as well as any major league team in a hurry. I want to ask you a twofold question here. A deal like this for a former Cy Young winner, for a high ticket pitcher with tons of upside for the team, what does this signal to, number one, the fan base, and number two, the other players in the clubhouse?
The fan base one interests me because I always try to remember, and I don't do a good enough job of this sometimes, that 95% of Blue Jays fans, they don't care about the exit velocity and the expected batting average and the wins above. They do not care, and they don't know what those things are, and that's okay. It's a blessed life, probably. But think back to 2015 and 16. The David Price edition and the Troy Tulowitzki edition, those didn't matter because of the fancy stats and the win probability added and all of this. They mattered in this city because people knew who they were. Everyone had heard of David Price. They'd seen him with the Rays for all those years. You knew who Troy Tulowitzki was. And this was suddenly the Blue Jays, who were the little brother in the AL East forever. And they've kind of been that a bit lately again. They went out and got the name you've heard of, that your buddies have heard of, who aren't really big Blue Jays fans. They're just casual. This is what gets people on the bandwagon. And that's a good thing, because when the dome is packed, it can be a more intimidating place to play. And all those people spend a bunch of money that goes to the team and ideally keeps this whole thing rolling. That's how teams sustain this. They need people in the gate. It still matters these days. And Bieber is not quite the David Price name value, I don't think, across baseball, but he's still someone that you know, someone you've heard of. And with a Cy Young to his name, with a couple of those big 200-plus inning seasons to his name, man, if he comes back those first couple of starts, 5 scoreless innings, 6 innings with 10 Ks, man, that'll start quick. It'll be pretty fun to be around.
And what about to the players in the clubhouse who, I mean, they're obviously all bought into this team right now, but this is a clear message from management that we believe in this group, and we're just putting a little icing on the cake right now.
Absolutely. For young players, it's energizing because you're around this for one of the first times. But if you are Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, George Springer, who's 35 with 1 year left, you don't have many shots left. And these chances don't come around all that often. Even Bo Bichette has talked about that. And Bo is only in his late 20s. He's got a big career ahead of him. But he has said that he didn't really appreciate how rare these opportunities were when he was younger. It is hard, even in the era of the third wild card where they're begging teams to make it into the playoffs. It's hard. And the Blue Jays, I've covered the Blue Jays since 2017. After those Bautista years, I have not covered a postseason win, and I've been around a while. It's been a long time, and they have gone 0-2, 0-2, and 0-2 their last 3 trips to the postseason. It's been a long, long time, and this was not a season that was supposed to end here. This season, this Blue Jays team, I thought they were a 500 team. And I thought they were unspectacular. I think a lot of people were wrong about that. But when you get these pleasant surprises, when it starts to work out, my God, you've got to grab onto that. And I think the Jays front office is doing that so far. One more move would make this a lot cooler, but so far, so good.
And also, you know, if his performance is good down the stretch here, if the team's performance is good and they do make a little bit of a playoff run, or at the very least make it there, it seems as though he'd be more likely to exercise that $16 million option, of course. And then if you get him anywhere near Cy Young caliber again, that's a bargain.
Absolutely. If he can stay next year, this is a completely different trade. Now, if the Blue Jays only have him for 8 or 10 starts in the playoffs, it better work out. Because giving up Cal Steven, that's a big price. It really is. It's worth it. You've got to go for it. But Cal Steven, their number 5 prospect, he's a legitimate pitching prospect. Fringe top 100, probably in that top 150 range if you looked at a lot of lists and expanded them. So this is expensive and this is big for the Blue Jays. That $16 million option, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because if Bieber comes back and gives them a 2.5 ERA down the stretch, wins a couple playoff games, free agency looks pretty attractive as soon as you can get there. But if he's average, still building up, maybe not up to a full workload, and he likes what he's seeing, that gets really fun. If he agrees to come back, or if the Blue Jays can do what they did with Jose Barrios, which is extend him after trading for him. And every veteran pitcher, from Chris Bassett to Gosman to Scherzer, loves coming to Toronto. I mean, Chris Bassett's going to be a marketing guy for this team. I swear. It's encouraging to hear that. They love Pete Walker. I have never had a pitcher say a bad word about Pete Walker, the pitching coach. And the Blue Jays have every resource, every dollar available that you could dream of. So everything's in place. And if the Jays keep him beyond this year, like if Bieber is on the opening day roster next year, this trade's a win. Fantastic deal. If they only get him this year, it can still be good, but he's got to win a playoff game.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Keegan, thank you very much for joining us. We know you have to get going, but no one breaks it down quite like you. And I think we would both agree right now, there is reason to be incredibly enthusiastic and optimistic in Blue Jays land right now, isn't there?
It is. You don't see me in a tie unless things are going really well or really poorly. Over the years, there's been a lot of really bad days, but these are the good ones. So a lot of reason for optimism. And man, they already had one of the best records in baseball, and they're adding. They've got a shot. All you can ask for is a shot. They've got one.
Thank you once again, Keegan Matheson, everybody, MLB.com reporter and frequent TSR contributor. Thank you for joining us. We were happy to break in with the MLB trade deadline live news. The Jays making a big move. Former Cy Young pitcher Shane Bieber acquired from the Cleveland Guardians. They're making a playoff run, folks. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us once again. We'll see you soon.